Okay, it's Sunday, Romford Horror Festival. We've just had Short Film Showcase 6, and I'm joined by some of the filmmakers behind some of those shorts. Would you like to just introduce yourself and your role in the film and the name of your film, please?
Yeah, Matthew Hendry. I'm the writer-director for The Once Trust.
I'm Sarah Leigh, and I'm the writer-director of One for the Road.
I'm Diane Janssen, and I'm the producer for One for the Road.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and representing your film. Would you like to just tell us how you got the idea behind your film? Was there just something that popped in there? Was there some kind of, I don't know, another previous film or whatever it might be?
For The Once Trust, I've sort of been really kind of interested in that kind of like, agent sort of sci-fi kind of story, stuff like, X-Files, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been kind of writing stories for years, like ever since I was like a teenager, sort of really into those sort of sci-fi stories. And as I got into my late teens, I was like, I like sort of more sort of psychological thriller type stuff. And I've, been writing stories for years, kind of combining them, doing all kinds of stuff. And really the ultimate one, the plan with Once Trust was that, maybe it'd be something bigger. It could be its own kind of show, kind of Twin Peaks-ish, X-Files-esque. So, went to university, wrote the script, and made the film. And it was like, someday maybe someone will kind of get the vibe of the film, and maybe it can be something more.
Okay. How about you, Sarah?
I was listening to a podcast about film, and someone mentioned that they had made one of these Dollar Baby films that Stephen King gives the rights to his short stories, and I'm a big King fan. I'd never heard of it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to see if there's one that is to do with Salem's Lot, which is my favourite book. And there was one called One for the Road, so it was perfect timing, really. Went on the website, had to do a pitch for it, said how we would do things differently, and how we do things differently is we have at least 50% of our cast and crew identify as deaf, disabled and or neurodivergent, including ourselves. And so I got the contract and we made it.
Great. And Diane, how do you get involved?
I'm just an old show pony, been around for years doing all sorts of things, but film is fairly new to me. This is only my second sort of adventure into the film world.
Okay.
And I'm really enjoying that and quite keen to get involved, doing more and just doing different stories, finding things that are interesting to everybody, but also maybe just shining that little light on things that are slightly different. Mm-hmm.
What's something you learned about filmmaking or the production of films that you didn't know going into this film? Is there anything? Do you want to start, Diane?
Me, I learned such a lot because I came from a very low base of not knowing a great deal. Okay. But with One for the Road particularly, we were quite a short time frame in which we had to make it. As Sarah mentioned with Stephen King and the contract, there was a sort of a hard deadline that you couldn't go past. So we crammed an awful lot into a very short space of time. So that really sort of crystallised all the things that needed doing in my mind. And I think we shot it in 3 days, didn't we, Sarah?
2 days.
2 days in November,
yeah.
But it was a full-on affair, wasn't it? So I learned an awful lot from that particular project.
Okay. How about you, Sarah?
Yeah, the same. Like Diane said, the pre-production was so condensed and very quick that we had to really think on our feet and get things up and running. It was different on set. We had lots of time. We make sure of that. We do maximum 8-hour days, sometimes 9, but that's an hour lunch, so we don't work for longer than that, and that's around access needs and just trying to have a work-life balance. But for me, the biggest thing I took away was I will never shoot in the cold outside in November again, in the UK.
How about you, Matthew? What did you learn about the filmmaking process from this film?
And I learned a great deal through all sort of processes. I mean, I was a student doing that film, so I mean, I'd been having like a film studies course since I was 14, but obviously, 6 years of that or whatever, not really, but several years of doing that, 4 years of doing that, whatever, and then getting to university and like trying to apply that, it was kind of difficult and really sort of seeing the sort of the processes of directing a crew instead of just doing like a film by yourself, because I was quite used to doing like stuff like that, where it's just like produce, direct, edit, do camera, everything. That's what we're used to. But sort of directing people and telling them like what to do, what I need, what's the vision is, and then, you know, and something as a sort of directing, doing that, you know, whenever people get the idea and get your vision, like, it's really kind of rewarding, I found. It's just like, okay, like, you get what I'm saying, like, you know, and then they do it, and they have their own ideas, and, you know, as like a writer as well, that's creating the story, it's like, you know, it's really kind of honouring, you know, to sort of have that, and also just sort of some of the other, like, more other stuff like just sort of organisation, you know, and making sure that we have like a shot list, stuff like that, you know, because you know, we didn't actually have like a shot list for one of the days. We're just like make it up on the spot, which, you know, in hindsight, terrible idea, because we got to set and we're like, okay, well, we had a plan on how to film this, but it meant that we didn't really have like a solid, like, you know, areas to what things were going on, and so it meant that one of the days, I think specifically the inside, the room scene, with the older lady, Elizabeth, or actress Elsa, you know, all of that scene was a really long day. It was probably like a 12-hour day, you know, which is really like putting the maximum of what you're supposed to do, and that was sort of just like, you know, we went there and it was difficult, it was hard to shoot, and then stuff like, you know, just in post-production realising that we'd actually broken the 180-degree rule, where we'd had our two main characters, John and Abigail, pointing like right to left, and then we also had Elizabeth looking right to left, and it was just like, okay, they're looking the same direction, and so it doesn't quite fit. So sort of amateur filmmaking there, but, you know, we made it work in the edit, and a lot of hard work went into that.
So that's something you notice yourself in your work that you would change?
You know, I wouldn't change the learning process, of course, but, you know, just like if I was to do Monstrous again, and I want to do many more, like, Monstrous style films, yeah, definitely I would sort of, you know, I would change sort of making sure we sort of get the, you know, do the film language right. Obviously, it doesn't have to be so, you don't have to follow the rules all the time, of course, like, as long as the story makes sense, but it's just like, stuff like that, it's like, it feels a bit more like student film sometimes, I think, but maybe I'm my own worst critic, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, cool. I think everyone is, but if there was something, let's start with the lady down there, something you see up on the screen there and you think, yeah, I'm really happy with that moment or that scene, I'm really proud of that, what would you choose to both of you? You can decide who goes first.
That's quite a hard one, actually, isn't it? Just to isolate one thing that you're really proud of. I just think the quality of the production. I was really proud of the way the whole thing looked, and the sound level and the colouring and all of that. And I particularly like the drone shot as well, because that really made a big difference, didn't it?
It did, yeah. No, I agree. And whenever I come, we're lucky enough to have a few screenings for it, and I try and focus on something different and see if I can see something different each time. So this time I was really focusing on performances, and I just, so proud of the actors, because it was just fantastic, especially like the car scene. I really proud of that.
Let's start with you again this end. Was there anything you had to cut out of the film? Obviously it's a short film, so was there something that you were really gutted to have to leave out to fit the flow of the runtime that you, I guess, ideally wanted?
Yeah, there was well, because of the nature of our film shoot, we had 5 days to shoot and we had the equipment for a certain time, but we'd actually had more scenes like from the script to shoot, but because of the day in which we were shooting with Elsa was so long, the next day it meant that we couldn't shoot the scene that we wanted to, because to ensure everyone could sleep and have enough rest and stuff like that for the next shoot day. So we had to cut one of the beginning scenes, which, you know, in hindsight would have just been some exposition, and, you know, obviously some of the stuff that we saw was you know, the guy at the beginning doing the sort of the VHS thing. We were able to take that from like a sort of a bit of a trailer bit we did, which was just me in a suit standing there. But so we were able to take that, put that in, that sort of filled the purpose of what that scene was going to do. And then we ended up cutting like this. Anyway, that shoot day anyway, we ended up cutting this whole scene that we shot at night, just because like the elements didn't allow for it. The generator was too loud. Several other things happened. So it sort of meant that the shoot actually took like 4 days instead of 5. But, you know, yeah, that's what happened.
That's what it is, yeah. How about you,
Yeah, definitely. So I have a thing about corridors and tunnels and symmetry in visuals, and if you've seen Conclave, it's beautiful for that. And for me, I had this gorgeous one where they enter the woods, and it was just this amazing tunnel, but we shot that in dusk before it got dark, and everything else was shot in the dark. And in the grade, we just couldn't make it match. It just looked so different in colour. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
So we had to cut it. So yeah, I'm a bit gutted about that.
Yeah, we also had a scene in a pub, didn't we? In our
that's
original
true.
original ideas, and that had to go. And I think that's a shame. I think that would have added something, but it just wasn't possible to get that in.
That would have been an extra day, but
Yeah.
in this short story, it's set in a pub in the beginning, but
Okay.
we just made it set in the car so we could shoot over
Yeah.
2 days.
So final question for me, what is everyone working on next? What's your next project? Is it going to be horror or is it going to be a different genre? Matthew, do you want to start with?
Okay, well, I've got a few projects sort of in the lineup. Obviously, so I mean, I'm doing my best, so obviously the film was produced by Adam's Film, that's sort of just me at the moment, and so, you know, we did a project, an advertisement for a local business last year, and then the idea is to sort of keep moving on with doing like sort of the corporate stuff, but also like I want to stay creative, so working on more like Once Trust, sort of in the world of Once Trust, moving on with that sort of story, as well as sort of, I don't know, sort of dabble in writing scripts for animation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Would you think about a feature film for Once Trust, or would it be like a series of shorts?
I think a limited series would
Okay,
sort of
yeah.
do it. You know, yeah, sort of more expensive. I've got a lot of story in my head for it, so it needs
Okay.
to be a bit more.
Yeah. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm currently writing feature, so working on that as much as I can. I actually have 3 features because I can't just focus on one thing at one time. But so yeah, I'm just writing different things at the moment, and got a couple of shorts that I've written that I, really want to get made. One, Call It Out with Diane, and that is a sci-fi film about the street harassment that women face. So there's always some kind of, well, this is a slightly different one for the road, but some kind of social impact story, but adding a bit of genre in as well.
And for us, I mean, part of our organisation is an accessible drama school. As Sarah said, we at Forefront deaf, disabled and neurodivergent adults who want a career in the performing arts. So the next project we're trying to work on is create a film with our students as a collective to give an opportunity for front of camera, behind camera, and just sort of really help build that work experiences, which is something we build through in all our productions, is a meaningful work experience route, because getting experience in this field is really, really difficult. So that's something that's really important to us.
Great stuff. Wish you all the best on all your future projects.
Thank you.
Give a round of applause, please, for our short film. Thank you.